Hello friends, my name is Real Emile and welcome back to Forza Motorsport 5. In today's video we are going to be doing some more Top Gear laps. Today's theme is British cars. I've tried to get a decent variety of British cars here today, and hopefully we can get some decent times on our lap board. Now the rules for the laps are very simple. Each car gets 6 laps to set its best lap time. Once it's set it, this time it's then put onto our leaderboards, which is actually getting quite big at the moment. I'm going to make the leaderboards a publicly available document at some point, so look out for that as well. The first car to go around was a very British Ariel Atom V8. I wanted to try this car. I've got a sneaking suspicion this could actually get towards the top of our board. It's an R-Class car. It's almost, I believe it's higher PI than the Hennessy Venom, this thing. It really is quite mental. 475 horsepower. It is pretty quick, it's extremely light, and it's okay-ish to drive. I've heard a few disaster stories about the Ariel Atom. A lot of people say it doesn't handle quite as it should, and I can kind of get that. But it's nowhere near as bad as everyone has sort of mentioned. It's very quick, and the handling's a bit of a concern. Basically, what happens is the rear of the car, as you can see through there, sort of just lets go at random times. The rear doesn't really seem to have much grip despite that huge wing on the back. I presume it's because the tyres are so like ludicrously small, that's why it's happening, but I'm not too sure. But other than that, the Ariel Atom is absolutely fantastic to drive. It's monstrously quick. It's so good on the brakes, it's unreal. I'm trying the line like that as well this week. In the past few weeks I've tried to get as close to that corner as possible. I'm trying the wide line because it seemed to work on Forza 4. Anyway, across the lap. Similarly track themed, we have the Caterham R500. Now this car's placed a lot lower than the Ariel Atom. I believe this is only an A-class car. About 260 horsepower, and as you can see through there, this has much the same problem as the Ariel Atom. However, it's so much worse in this car. I have no idea what's so wrong with the Caterham, but basically the rear end has no grip. There is no grip on the rear end. The Ariel Atom at least had a degree of grip. This just seriously doesn't. This is also very twitchy. As I've noticed when you've tried to put race tyres on it, it's so twitchy. It's just not a very good car to drive this at all. I mean, it is fairly quick. Through the corners, it's good until the rear end comes around. What I mean is the turning on it is just so fantastic. It'll get into the corner, it's just coming out the corner, it gets all messy. Through the hammerhead, this thing, if it was set up correctly, this could be flat out through there. This could be an extremely quick car, but as it is, the rear end just does not have enough grip to take any corner with any degree of speed, unfortunately. The brakes, as with the Ariel Atom, are absolutely fantastic, and the straight line speed, it's actually got a fairly decent amount of it, but not the nicest car to drive around here, I've got to be honest. Going from a super light stripped out sports car to possibly the most beautiful car ever made, at least in my opinion, we have the Aston Martin Vanquish. I absolutely love this thing. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's so fantastic. And to drive, well, it was a DBS replacement this. It has a V12 I believe, and produces about 600 horsepower. It's very heavy, however, it's really nice to drive actually. I was almost expecting this to be very tail happy, but it just wasn't. It was fairly glued to the road this. It was nice to drive, yeah. This car, PI wise, is 609 A-class, I believe, so it's just into A-class. Which is a bit of a disadvantage. It's also quite expensive from what I remember, but no, it's worth every penny because it's just so fantastic to look at. But yeah, to drive fairly okay through there, it was fairly decent on speed. I believe most cars through the hammerhead get about 90-100 miles an hour. I think this was about 105 through there. So yeah, it's fairly decent through there. Through this corner it was quick as well. Second to last corner, it was extremely quick. The last corner, sorry, was a bit of an issue in the Aston. No car really likes the last corner. Occasionally we have to take a ridiculously wide line on it. Next up, again, the opposite of what we just had. We have the Lotus Exige. How could we not have a Lotus in a episode about British cars? This is the Exige. This is the 2012 Exige, I believe. It's top of B class this, and it's horrendous to drive. oh god, this is so terrible to drive. It's almost, honestly, it's like driving a light Mustang. It's just so unbelievably tail happy, this thing. There's so much oversteer. Yes, the brakes are good. It's virtually got no understeer, but my god, the oversteer as it understeers through that corner. Yeah, this really does handle like an old muscle car, and I was expecting so much better of the Lotus. I mean, Lotuses are renowned for being absolutely fantastic to drive, and this one is just absolutely shockingly bad. It's just atrocious. Straight line speed, this didn't really have either, because of course it's a Lotus, it hasn't really got that much power. Yeah, this was not a fun car to drive. You can see it twitching through there a little bit as well. No, I didn't like the Exceed round here, I've got to be honest. And again, another opposite. It's just like boom, 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 track car, GT car, whatever. Anyway, this is the Jaguar XKR-S. It's bright blue, it looks absolutely fantastic, and it makes supercharger noises. How can you not like the XKR-S? This is an absolutely fantastic car. And to drive, actually, it was a lot better than I was expecting. If you're careful with it, it's actually fairly decent to drive. Like the Lotus, it drives a bit like a muscle car, but it's a much more well-behaved muscle car. Yeah, I just said a 550 horsepower Jaguar is more controllable than a Lotus. Yeah. Interestingly, this and the Lotus are actually around about the same PI, so I was just kind of curious to see which one would win out of this, which approach to car building is better. And I do have to say, as far as enjoyableness to drive, this is definitely the more enjoyable car. Yeah, I can't really fault the XKR-S. I was expecting this to be sliding on all over the place, but if you're careful with it, I mean, through there I'm not careful with it, as you can see. But yeah, overall the XKR-S is not a bad car. It's quite expensive. I think it's 110,000 credits, which, you know, we built budget A-class cars a while back, so yeah, we went quite wide on that corner. And the final car, well, I was searching through things to use, and this sort of came to mind. This is the 2012 Vauxhall Astra VXR. Now, you may remember last time out we had its its older sibling, the 2006 Astra VXR. So I was kind of curious to see what difference there was between these two. Now, the first big difference is this one actually has quite a lot more power. This is pushing 280 horsepower, this Astra, which is a lot in a front-wheel drive car. And it handles its power relatively decently, actually. This isn't a bad car. There is a fair amount of understeer. No way near as bad as its predecessor, but there is quite an amount of understeer in this, as you can see through there. But yeah, it wasn't a bad car to drive through here. I don't mind the Astra VXR, actually. This new model is actually a fairly decent looking car. I wouldn't have it over a Focus ST per se, but pretty good car. Through the follow-through, well, in any of these sort of lower-end cars, you can be pretty much flat out through there. As well. You're pretty much flat out throughout this lap, save for the hammerhead and some of the corners towards the start. Second to last corner, takes a relatively good amount of speed through there. And into the first corner, it's a bit hard to choose gears as well for these lower cars, because you don't want to go for first gear because, well, you might mess up, but second gear also isn't advisable. In fourth now, we have the Ariel Atom V8. Not quite as quick as I thought it'd be. It's just below a Bugatti Veyron SS. I was almost expecting the Atom to challenge the LaFerrari, but apparently not. But it goes much quicker than the Hennessy Venom GT. And it also is half as much, so buy that instead of the Venom. In 17th, we find the Caterham R500. It didn't perform too bad. It's quicker than an Audi R8, which is fairly respectable. It's just not a nice car to drive at all. I do not recommend giving that Caterham a go. Not good at all. Although, to be fair, the R8 also wasn't a particularly good car to drive. In 21st, we now have the Aston Martin Vanquish with an extremely respectable 120.662. That's quicker than a Lexus LFA, which is double the PI. Or, sorry, 50 PI over the Vanquish. That's a ludicrously fast time. It really is quite good for that car. The Lotus Exige gets a 122.325 just, and the Jaguar XKR-S gets a 122.791. I was surprised the Jag was a bit slower than the Lotus. Out of them two, I'd definitely go with the Jag after driving that Lotus. It just was not a nice car to drive, but the Jaguar actually sets a really respectable time as well, quicker than a Camaro ZR1, which we've already discussed is a fantastic car. And finally, in 34th, we find the Vauxhall Astra VXR 2012. It is 2 and a bit seconds quicker than the old model, and that was run on Forza 4, where there's a lot more grip. So, yeah, the Astra VXR 2012 definitely did a good showing, and it's only just a second slower than a Rolls-Royce Wraith. Anyway, friends, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and until next time, farewell.